Hey there, everyone. So today we're doing what are we on? Unit 7, Lesson 8. So the very last lesson of Unit 7. So by that, what I mean is the new content. There's one more lesson in the assessments, but that very last lesson, number 9, that's going to be all about preparing for the test. So this is the last one where you're seeing new documents and new stuff to go with it. All right, so the topic we're dealing with today is the use of the atomic bomb during World War II. So here's what we've got. What we need to first decide is essential question number 3, which is about how did the US federal government respond to the crisis? So in this case, the response was we dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan in order to end the war. That was our response to the crisis. You could say cheesily that we chose the nuclear option, if you know that idiom. The next question is, what were the diverse perspectives on the government's response to this national crisis, and why did people disagree? To this very day, the use of the atomic bomb remains extremely controversial. Those who did it still defend what they did, but others in the decision-making process started to question later in life whether they made the right choice of ending the war in that way. Not because it was effective or not, but because of all the other issues and consequences that came about because of it. And last question, number 5, how did the US change economically, socially, and politically because of this national crisis? There's some loud noise going on outside. I got distracted. Essentially what happens is we were the first to develop the atomic bomb, and it changed our role as a world power all the way up till today, and it kind of issues in the nuclear age of the Cold War, which of course we won't be studying because the year is about to be over. All right? So in terms of our key skill, it's going to be sourcing for this one. Ultimately, what you want to be considering is who are the sources of the documents you're reading. What is their background? And that's going to help you give a little bit of a point of view as to how they view the use of the atomic bomb. Now, it's not always going to be a perfect correlation. The government chose to drop the bomb, but just because someone was in the government and made that decision doesn't mean they perfectly agreed with it when the decision was made or later on as well. So ultimately, you want to consider here, was this someone on the deciding end to use the bomb, or someone on the receiving end, or someone that's kind of neutral in the middle? Okay? Key concepts. So 2 of them here. One was just that it is the use of the atomic bomb that ends World War II in the Pacific, and it caused an unconditional surrender from Japan. So us fighting Japan was like the very last thing going on in World War II, and using the atomic bomb ended it very quickly. But here's the more important one. The use of the atomic bomb in World War II remains the only time this type of weapon has ever been used in a war, and it has fostered continuing debates over the ethics of new technology and weapons during wartime. So again, that's the bigger picture. Not that we used it and we won the war, but because we used it and it's the only time it's been used, you can see why that would become a controversial decision if all the other countries that had it in the future never used it. All right, so let me go over some basic directions for you through Google Classroom. You know what to do. We've got all our lessons listed here. We are on number 8, the atomic bomb in World War II. Notice here you've got your document that you'll work on, and then there's a video posted to it. This video is about contextualizing where the atomic bomb came from, and it's integrated into the assignment as well. So to contextualize this, watch the first 8 minutes of this video that's at this link. The same one that was posted to the assignment itself. It's from a crash course. It's a pretty good overview, but when you get to the 8-minute mark, it's going to start to push into the Cold War, which is beyond our time period, so you can stop right there. Here you're just summarizing what were the causes, the goals, and the course of the Manhattan Project, the secret government project that created the atomic bomb. So essentially you have to understand where the bomb came from before we can really look at the issue of seeing how the government justified the decision to use it, but then how that government, or the government as well, but how the decision had been questioned after that as well. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to have 5 documents on here, but 6 spots. Note, there's more than one document that could be used on both sides. So like I said, it's not like a black and white issue. Some people who said, I would do it again, also said, but now I'm questioning that decision. So pay attention to that. For each source, you're considering who is the author. Remember, like sourcing, like I set up in the directions, and then a quotation to support what claim that author is making as to how they justified the decision to drop the bomb, or how they viewed the decision as inappropriate or unnecessary. All right, so you'll fill out this chart. And at the bottom, a little bit of practice getting you closer to the axes paragraph. The question says, after reviewing the evidence, was the use of the atomic bomb an appropriate response by the U.S. federal government to the crisis of World War II? Use evidence from this lesson to inform your argument. So if you notice the phrasing of that question, it's very close to the axes prompt, which is, in World War II, did the United States federal government make the appropriate response to the crisis that they faced? All right, so you can see this is dealing with the topic of the atomic bomb. There's other topics that you could do in that way. All right. Oh, that sound outside was the garbage truck. Here it is again. Okay, so you've got document A from the president that chose to drop the bomb. Document B, some propaganda that was dropped over Japan to try and convince them to surrender after the bomb was dropped. An oral history from someone who survived the bombing. And then 2 retrospectives from the Secretary of War and then one of the head guys in the military when they looked back on the use of the bomb and didn't really view it the same way in the moment as they did later in life. All right, let us look at directions one last time, right? So you're considering, how did the government respond? What were different perspectives on that response? And how do we change because of it? Considering the sourcing, so who the authors were they in the government, were they the victims of the atomic bomb? And keeping in mind that this is a debate, there's not a perfect answer to it, it's open to interpretation. All right, folks, that's it. So you'll see me for the lesson 9 intro video. Until then, bye-bye.